here today to hand deliver a personally written letter from myself, Vanessa, in the hope of requesting a personal meeting with Anthony Albanese in trying to make a change with the TGA regarding psychedelic-assisted therapy. To my local MP, Anthony Albanese, please read and reread my letter. I have lived in your electorate for 37 years and have delivered pamphlets for your initial campaign. I'll never forget the morning I woke up contemplating whether to help my husband and father of our young daughter take his own life. He had been suffering so deeply for so long until we had finally reached the point of exhausting every option Australia's medical system had to offer. And whilst to people like my husband, suicide presents itself as an accessible option in this country, seeking psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy under the close supervision of a psychiatrist is not. Anthony, if this doesn't highlight the absurd cruelty of the TGA's current stance on psychedelic medicines, then frankly, I don't know what will. In what world is it fair to deny treatment-resistant Australians access to these potentially life-saving medicines under the guise of keeping them safe? Born and bred in the inner west of Sydney, my husband Franco was a successful businessman who loved his family. We were married for 30 wonderful years and spent 11 of them raising our beautiful daughter Zara. On the 5th of April 2018, Franco, who had rarely ever been ill, wakes up to tell me he needs to see a doctor urgently. Upon his first session, Franco was diagnosed with a severe form of clinical depression, prescribed an antidepressant and referred to both a psychiatrist and a psychologist. 4 weeks later, my husband is admitted into a private hospital where his medication is changed for the first time, but not for the last. Only 4 weeks after admission, the doctors started Franco on a course of ECT, electric convulsive therapy, a process whereby electricity is passed through your brain to induce a seizure to treat mental illness. 2 doses of ECT later, he is transferred to Concord Hospital, where under the supervision of the tribunal, he is hospitalised for another 3 months and administered a further 22 ECTs. After 4 months in the hospital, my husband comes home. What follows over the coming 3 years is a further 7 hospitalizations, totaling in 19 months in hospital, where he was administered a staggering 96 ECTs, 24 transcranial magnetic stimulations, otherwise known as TMS, and prescribed 19 different antidepressants and antipsychotic drugs. You can read more about all of Franco's doctors' hospital's treatments on the attached appendix. All of this at the cost of tens of thousands of dollars and endless heartache for Franco, myself, and our family. Worse still, the side effects from Franco's treatment were so severe that he could no longer remember the route to his own daughter's school, let alone his mother's house just around the corner. It was devastating for me to witness the man I love, a man who had always been so highly functional, no longer remember how to get to his own mother's house barely down the road. This was Franco's reality, and this remains the reality for the thousands of Australians suffering from treatment-resistant mental illness today. Franco was one of the strongest men I've ever known, but after years of futile attempts at getting better, he began to lose hope, as did I. That was until I saw the 60 Minutes program on psychedelic medicines, prompting me to reach out to Australian journalists for more information. From there, I was then referred onto Mind Medicine Australia, a charity advocating for the clinical use of psychedelic-assisted therapies. After years of seeking help, to no avail, it was a relief for our family's suffering to finally be heard, but more so to see a progressive change on the horizon for Australia's treatment of mental illness. I began to feel reassured when I heard of the remarkable overseas progress of psychedelic therapies within treatment-resistant populations. Even more promising was that these positive results were occurring after just 2 to 3 medicinal sessions alongside a short course of psychotherapy. All up, Franco spent over a year and a half of his life in hospital, was administered shock therapy almost 100 times, and trialled every class of antidepressant available to him. To hear of these clinical trial medicines that help patients make meaningful progress in just 2 to 3 sessions reinvigorated me with hope. I felt this was our only solution. We had tried everything else and seen the leading experts in New South Wales. To me, psychedelic-assisted therapies seemed like the only way I could help keep my husband alive. But on October the 21st, 2022, the TGA once again denied access to psychedelic medicines, citing insufficient evidence to warrant their rescheduling for therapeutic use. This is despite over 13,000 submissions to the TGA. Over 98% of those were in favour of rescheduling both psilocybin and MDA as controlled medicines for use in clinical environments for people who are suffering unbearable pain like my husband. Yet mounting evidence from over 200 peer-reviewed studies around the globe has continually demonstrated the safe and effective use of these medicines in clinical settings. Just recently, a trial at Imperial College London showed that remission rates for depression were twice as high for those who underwent just 2 treatments of psilocybin with a short course of psychotherapy versus patients who were administered a daily dose of leading antidepressants in combination with psychotherapy. Even Franco's key psychiatrist was in support of psychedelic-assisted therapy, with the crucial caveat being that it must be administered and closely monitored under the supervision of a qualified therapist. Anthony, this is all that I wanted. Our request was, and still is, a simple one. It is fair and reasonable, and it is logic. Whilst Australia drags its feet, these therapies are being administered right now in places like Canada, USA, Switzerland, Israel, and other more progressive nations. Anthony, why should Australians have to break the law or travel overseas to access these safe and effective treatments when all else has failed? I was so desperate to help my husband that I even considered going to an underground therapist, but my family urged me not to because under current Australian law, that would make me a criminal. I couldn't risk that, and I couldn't risk taking him overseas to a country where these treatments are legal due to his suicidal ideation. I couldn't do that to our daughter. It was an impossible choice. Then the day came that I had to make the heartbreaking decision to hospitalize my husband once again. Every day I listened as he told me that he wanted to die, begging me to help him. I'm his wife. We share a child together, and I'm left to make the excruciating decision because there's nowhere else to turn. Nothing else I can give him. There's nothing more I can do. I'm also become terrified for our daughter and the impact this would have on her for the rest of her life. And this is why one morning I woke up contemplating helping the man I love to kill himself. Anthony, you tell me, if your partner was suffering unbearably and wanted to end her life, what would you do? Have you personally experienced someone close to you suffering such severe depression that they are trying desperately and repeatedly to end their life? For me, this isn't some hypothetical plucked from an ethics case study. This is my lived experience. This is my reality. Sadly, my family will never get a chance to find out if psychedelic-assisted therapies could have saved my dear husband's life. My daughter and I will never know, because 2 weeks after being released from hospital, Franco took his own life. He couldn't hold on any longer. What breaks my heart is that this is shared reality for so many Australian families, people who are on the brink of society struggling silently, waiting for access to these medicines, waiting for an anonymous bureaucrat, the delegate, with a stroke of their pen to give Australians access to the same therapies that Canada, USA, Germany, Switzerland, Portugal, Israel, the Netherlands, and other nations already have. And whilst there isn't a day that goes by that I don't miss Franco, he is not the one that I blame. I blame the regulator, so disconnected from the suffering of the people it claims to serve. I blame the government that would rather let innocent people suffer and die than legalize innovative therapies that are continually proven to be both safe and effective. The saddest part is that I know that this truth will eventually be revealed. But Anthony, every day that we wait, people die. We are better than this. Anthony, you were elected on a mandate of compassion. It is time for change. Access to safe and effective medical treatment is a basic human right. Anthony, you can help put a stop to the immense suffering in this nation. Please reschedule these substances for therapeutic use. Please don't let another child lose a parent to suicide. In light of this, I request a personal meeting with you, my local representative, to express my concerns directly so that together we can find a way forward for all those suffering. Sincerely, Vanessa. I just want to make a change so other people don't have to suffer. I have my daughter who's lost her dad, and she can never replace him. And thankfully I have lots of photos to remind us of all the wonderful times we had together. So I hope that I can get Anthony to listen and to help us bring this therapy here to Australia as a means of helping people like my husband who are just not responding to the current therapeutic means that they have available to them. Giving someone 100 electric shock therapy treatments is absurd, but we did everything we could that we were told to do, and my husband was compliant the whole time and held on for 3 years, hoping that I would find a solution for him. And unfortunately, due to the TGA not making a change so that I could get access to something new and innovative, he took his own life. And I don't want that for any other person here in Australia.